provoke an emotional response. Shall we continue? It's a test designed to provoke an emotional response. Shall we continue?
The music is playing. Please get to class. Please get off the crossing path. First one to talk in the chat, get some more dollar. I'm invisible, you say. This is how I'm going to teach the class today. I'm not going to be here, but I'm here. I'm just speaking from the heavens. What is up, people? What is up? What is going on? Yes, it is Thursday. Thursday is definitely my favorite day of the week. We got some big time stuff to learn about today, people. Some big time stuff. We actually have two things to learn about today. We're doing 2 days in one sort of things. We've been kind of chilling in here the first couple week back, right? The first week back here. We've been chilling, so. Come on, people. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. All right. Some of your announcements today is, people, we're not going to have a problem set today. Again, right? We're not going to have a problem set, but I have a graphic organizer I would like you guys to complete, whether you rather do it, while I go over the notes, right? Like while I talk about it and you just fill it in as we go, or if you want to do it afterwards as sort of a review sort of assignment, you can do it like that as well. But the graphic organizer that you guys are going to fill out is very, very important because we're going to learn about one market structure at a time. And what we're going to talk about today is, I just want to give a brief overview of each of the 4 market structures. So it's a thing that you're going to look back at, multiple times throughout the course. So I really want you guys to fill it out. It's not busy work, right? It's not busy work. I want you guys to fill it out. And then after we talk about the 4 market structures, right, like the biggest part of this class, right, we're going to allocate, how many more weeks we got? We got what, 5 more weeks? Probably a good 4, maybe 3 or 4 of those weeks are going to be market structures, right? So that's what we're about to learn about starting tomorrow. But before we learn about market structures, we have to talk about profit, right? Because that's going to be the most important thing, because each business, we're going to assume, in every market structure, their goal is to maximize profit. So profit is going to look differently whether we're calculating economic profit or accounting profit. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do 2 different things today. We're going to learn about market structures and profit. Both of them aren't insanely long. They're short, but that's what we're going to do today. We'll get to attendance in the chat. Don't you worry over there. Don't you worry. Is Ballard able to talk in the chat today? Ballard, we miss you. Come back to the chat, please. Ballard, we miss you. Anyway, then also check your problem set keys, all right? Check your problem set keys. Don't forget. 3.3 was a big one, and I tried to put why was true or false. Oh yeah, there we go. We got Ballard. Come on, Patrick Starr. Look at him. Check your answer keys, all right? People, if you're not checking your answer keys, I don't know how you're learning, right? I don't know how if you're actually knowing if you know it or don't, right? Because I'm basically seeing, did you try, and is it turned in on time? Full points. But if you aren't actually seeing if you know, right? It's not going to be good. All right, but here's your attendance in the chat. All right. And I hope we haven't done this one yet. But if you could shop for free at one store for 30 minutes, you guys ever see like shows where like, you got like 10 minutes, go, right? In this case, I'm gonna give you 30 minutes. What store would you choose and why? You only get 30 minutes. What store would you want to go to and why? People, do you guys like the transitions? I got the transitions in here now. It's pretty cool. We're here. It's pretty cool. Where are we gonna go? I'm gonna go chill. I'm gonna chill in the beach house. I haven't been in the beach house in a while. How do I get it so like just your let's do it like this. I wonder if I can get it so the chest is like really big. Be kind of cool. No, you still can't really see it. That's annoying. All right. I want to get it so like we can just see the chat like in one screen. That'd be kind of sweet. Be kind of sweet. All right. Anyway. Okay. Let's see. All right, a huge yet organized bookstore. It's pretty good. Just get all the books in the world. It's a pretty good idea. Because then you become the smartest person in the world, right? Pretty crazy. Abe says, can we do Amazon? Well, the thing about Amazon, it might take a while, right? Because if you're going to like an Amazon warehouse, it might be hard to like find where things like are. Like there's not like aisles labeled, right? And it might take long to like online shop rather than just like throwing things in your cart in front of you. But you can do Amazon. I probably just want to do Amazon though. Sam's Club, they got literally everything there. Raid Amazon, raid Sam's Club. Gucci, resell online and use the money for what I want. That's economics, Mayor. That's pretty good. Walmart, because there's a bunch of things you can get. Okay. Barnes & Noble doesn't have everything. Extra credit if it includes textbooks. Nice, okay. Target, they have everything. I was thinking about Target too. But I'm sure there's like one store that like is really expensive and like I would just like throw, kind of like what Mara said, like Apple, right? I'd just go to Apple and I'll just throw everything in my cart and sell it, but maybe we should put in the rules you can't do that. Target, they have almost everything. I like Target a lot. It's just a good store to go to, at least. Just some place I can load up on gold. A store that just sells gold, like a pawn shop. Probably a Louis Vuitton store, then sell everything. People, you guys are all trying to profit maximize like every firm we're about to learn about, right? You guys are all just trying to profit maximize. I just want to grab as many books as I can and go. What about digital books, right? On like a Kindle, no? Because where are you going to put all these books? I would go to a dealership. I have to maximize what I can get in half an hour. That's pretty smart. Like in 30 minutes, if you can close on a deal and get like 2 cars, right? It usually takes a while because they got to run your credit and do all these other paperwork. But 2 cars is a lot of money, right? Best Buy, Urban Outfitters, because I like their clothes. I can never afford more than 2 things. Never been there before. I don't think I've ever been there before. People, I haven't bought clothes in like 2 years. It's crazy. I think I'm done growing. I don't know. Haven't gotten really tall or anything. Best Buy jewelry store, so I can sell everything at people. You guys are all just trying to flip goods. Stop doing that. Sephora, did I spell that right? Makeup. Okay, Chase. Okay. Target has everything. Target or any jewelry store. Target has everything. I can. You guys are all trying to make money. Stop it. If not Amazon, then probably Best Buy a yacht, dock, and buy a fleet of boats. I would always prefer physical. Yeah, Jen, I'm with you on that. People, reading comprehension is proven to be higher when you read off a book rather than an electronic device. For sure, without a doubt. Mr. Moore, where's your source? Don't worry about it, all right? Don't worry about it. But it's true, okay? If you read out of a textbook or like a book in general, you're gonna comprehend the book much more than if you read it off the internet. What if I read a book in VR? Ooh. You might have me on that one, virtual reality. All right, people, are we ready to learn? But remember, people, can you guys draw this graph here? Can you guys draw this graph? Do you guys know how to? Because I feel like we might struggle with it this year. I feel like we might struggle with it. Because again, in class, I usually make you do it every single day, and I can't really, like... We should try Jamboard. I heard Jamboard's kind of sweet. Sounds even worse. Transition games from people, you like it. The transitions. The transitions. Now you see me, now you don't. Now you see me, now you don't. It's crazy. Alright, people. I think it's time to move on here. Alright, and then... Oh, not that one. This one. Alright. Again, people, we have two things to learn about. Oh, wait, hold on. People, you guys know to grab this, right? It's like berries. I put a bunch of answer keys up, alright? Make sure you guys have this up. I would rather do it during rather than after, but I know the Chromebook is kind of finicky, right? Like if you're doing this on a Chromebook, you might not have like a big screen to like watch me and also write at the same time. But people, you're gonna want to fill this out, okay, as we kind of work through this, right? And just you filling it out is gonna help you differentiate between the four different market structures, okay? So make sure you guys are filling that out as we go. All right, people. The four market structures. Kaboom! Right, we're finally here, which is pretty exciting, right? So what we're going to start doing, starting tomorrow, is we're going to learn about each of the four market structures, and basically what we're going to do is we're going to employ all the concepts from Unit 2 and the early part of Unit 3, right, cost curves and all that, and analyze each market structure, right? If I was a firm operating in this structure of a market, how am I going to get my price, right? How am I going to choose how much quantity to produce? What are other things that I'm going to have to be aware of if I'm operating in this market structure, right? What are long-run profits going to look like? Will I advertise or will I not advertise, right? This is what microeconomics is all about. Microeconomics is all about analyzing businesses, right? And that's what we're going to be doing starting out. Now, you guys see a bunch of candy. Usually we have a fun game, and I give you guys candy, and it's really fun, but like, no. Virtual candy, all right? Chase swore, did he? I can't remember what the graph even is, much less draw it. LMAO! Oh my gosh. All right, anyway, moving on. All right, so, see people, right? I hope you guys know how to draw that stuff, right? I hope you guys know how to do it. Marginal cost is U-shaped. AFC goes down, and then just have AVC and ATC intersecting MC. That's minimum point, steadily getting closer and closer together, but never touching. And then remember, the vertical distance between ATC and AVC is equal to AFC, and that's pretty much it. All right, I hope you guys can do that. But today, yes, you can explain the characteristics that define each of the four market structures, and there they are. Those are the four market structures that we're going to learn about in class. We're going to learn about perfect competition. Probably, well, we're going to start tomorrow, but it's probably going to take about all week next week. And then once we're done with that, people, we are going to be ready to take that Unit 3 test. Do we need to know where they are in comparison to each other on the graph then? Yeah. You're going to have to be able to draw it, right? Because on FRQs, if the AP test is how they're planning it to be, you're going to have to draw these graphs on FRQs, obviously, and like you're going to have to draw them correctly. I always draw marginal cost first, and then I draw AVC and ATC afterwards, just U-shaped and crossing its minimum point. But people, you're not going to really draw AVC and AFC very much, so it's not that big of a deal. But starting next week, like you're going to have to be doing a lot of drawing, like on a separate sheet of paper, right, in order to answer most of these questions. So I assume you guys are going to learn how to draw the graph at that point. But anyway, so the four market structures is perfect competition, monopolistic competition, oligopoly, and monopolies. So first, we're going to learn about perfect competition over here. That's going to round out Unit 3, and then afterwards we learn about these three. We start with monopoly, and then we learn about monopolistic competition, and then we learn about oligopolies, right? And this is what Unit 4 is all about. So if we can finish, people, if we finish Unit 4 before the next rotation, like we are in such a good spot. Because people, I've taught Unit 5 and Unit 6 in about a week in school. So we're doing pretty good. That's why I'm kind of slowing things down this week a little bit, but we're having a really good pace, okay? All right, anyway. So it says, every product is sold in a market that can be considered one of the above market structures, right? So think about every business out there, right? Like Ford and Target and, you name it, right? that business is in one of these four market structures, the way the market is structured, all right? So again, fast food market, right? So I would say the fast food market is oligopoly, but sometimes monopolistic, and then in some cities it's a monopoly, right? In some small towns there's like one fast food restaurant, it's a McDonald's. So it kind of depends on, like region or local, right? But in general, I think nationwide, I would say the fast food market is pretty much oligopoly, right? It's only owned by a few firms, or a few firms dominate, right? Taco Bell, McDonald's, Burger King, so forth, right? Car manufacturers, I would say, is pretty oligopoly, right? There's not that many car manufacturers, right? A little bit monopolistic, but probably more so oligopoly. Microsoft, I would say, is a monopoly. The strawberry market, I would say, is perfect competition. The cereal market, I would say, is monopolistic competition, maybe oligopoly a little bit, right? But the whole point is this, right? Every business, every market, and then every business in a market is operating in somewhere on the spectrum here, right? Where it's either very, very competitive, or it's monopolized, or it's pretty competitive, but there's some variation, or only a couple firms dominate, right? That's the whole idea, and that's what we're gonna learn, the rest of the course, really. That's what AP Microeconomics is all about, right? Everything up to this point was like, so you guys can learn this, and then this is like, the big part of it. Just like in macro is the ADAS model, implementing policy, right? You learn so long on what is GDP, inflation, unemployment, all that. You learn how to graph it, right? That's what we just did. We just learned how to graph our cost curves, and now we're going to learn about microeconomics. Okay, so the first one is perfect competition, and like I said, we're going to spend a lot of time on this, probably more time on this than any other market structure, and it's going to start tomorrow. And then the other three are called imperfect competition. All right, so you have perfect competition, and then you have the other three that's imperfect competition. It's not completely as perfectly competitive. That makes sense. I think we can block other students, like on here. I think we can block other students. What are you talking about, John? Are you trying to block Chase? All right, anyway. So characteristics of perfect competition. So what are some real-life examples of perfect competition? So people, the word perfect competition means the market is as competitive as it can possibly get. All right? Like it is perfectly competitive without using the definition on the word, right? Or the word in the definition. It is insanely competitive. So like in real life, people, there's not really that many markets that are truly perfectly competitive. This is like the end of the spectrum, right? Click on three dots and you can report or block another student. Oh, I got you. That's fine. So the best examples in the real world would be agriculture. But even then, though, right, you'd have to be selling your good, for example, like strawberries think about it like this, like you are a strawberry farmer and you're selling strawberries at a farmer's market where there's 1,000 other strawberry farmers there. And every strawberry farmer and every strawberry is exactly the same. Every firm has the exact same cost, the exact same amount of land, the good is exactly the same, there is no difference in taste, in size of the strawberry. Everything's exactly the same, and you're competing against thousands and hundreds of thousands of other farmers that are run the same exact business as you, right? So obviously that doesn't happen in the real world, right? But we're going to analyze what would a firm experience in a market structure that's perfectly competitive, right? And then obviously we're going to look at imperfect competition, which really are market structures that are more real world examples, but we want to analyze the end of the spectrum, okay? So that's what perfect competition means. It's perfectly competitive, as competitive as it can get. So again, if you were a strawberry farmer at a farmer's market trying to sell strawberries, and there's 100,000 other strawberry farmers, and they have the exact same everything as you, and your goods no different than them, right? You're going to operate like this, right? So what are some characteristics, right? Many small firms, the product is exactly identical. They're perfect substitutes to one another, right? There's very, very low barriers of entry, and this one's going to be really important when we start looking at long-run economic profit. What low barriers of entry means is this, right? If you're making profit being a strawberry farmer, right, there's nothing protecting your profits. In other words, if you're making money as a strawberry farmer and your neighbor makes potatoes and your neighbor's like, wow, my neighbor growing strawberries is making profit. and I'm not making any profit growing potatoes. I'm going to grow strawberries, and there's nothing preventing them from growing strawberries. You don't have like a copyright, you don't have a patent, you don't have anything not allowing that person to compete against you. That's the idea of low barriers of entry, right? So that person's just going to clear their land and grow strawberries, and they're going to compete against you. There's very, very low barriers of entry. Obviously, we talk about other market structures like the airline industry. It's very hard to open up shop and compete with Delta Airlines like right now if you wanted to, right? It'd be insanely difficult. But to grow strawberries typically is pretty easy. Well, it's not easy to do it, but like it's easy to like enter into that industry, right? You just need land, et cetera, and start growing strawberries, right? So very, very low barriers of entry is very, very important. It's going to become key when we talk about a firm operating this market structure. Can they make long-run economic profit? The answer is no. There's no way, because if they make profit, it's like Finding Nemo. Finding Nemo. The sequels would be like mine, right? And they're going to steal all the profit. Okay. Next, seller has no need to advertise. Again, imagine if you were a farmer, right, growing strawberries and selling your strawberries against hundreds of thousands of other farmers, and your strawberries are exactly identical to another other person's. Everyone knows about it, right? If I'm a consumer and I'm at this farmer's market, and you're like, hey, buy my strawberries, they're awesome, right? I'm like, no, they're the same, and I know they're the same. They're the same as this guy's, so I'm just going to find the lower price. So there's absolutely no incentive to advertise, because advertising costs money. And if you try to spend money to increase demand for your good, it's not going to work, because everyone knows your good is exactly the same substitute as another good. Every good in this market is perfectly substitutable. So perfectly competitive firms will never, ever advertise. And some of you guys are like, Mr. Moore, there's avocado commercials, right? I know, but again, in the real world, there's not true perfect competition. I think avocados are pretty dominated by a few different firms, right? Even though like it's an agricultural good. So with that being said, firms are price takers, right? So if you are one of these strawberry farmers, right, at this farmer's market, and everyone knows your strawberries are no different than everyone else's, right? You can't dictate the price. You can't decide the price. You can't be like, hey, I'm going to charge $2 for my strawberries, right? You are going to take the price given in the market, right? Well, the avocado producer that is paying for that is like Got Milk. Oh yeah, like Got Milk kind of is like for everybody. You're right. No, the avocado one I'm talking about, it's like a certain producer. It's like the biggest producer of avocados. But you're right, Got Milk kind of does do that. It is kind of weird. You're right. Anyway, what I was saying is firms are price takers. Businesses do not write up the prices. They do not come up with a price. They're not going to be like, hey, I'm going to charge this price for this good, right? They take the market price because they have no power. They have no market power whatsoever. No firm has greater market share than any other firm. So, if the equilibrium price where supply equals demand in this market is $1 for strawberries, and that's the willingness and ability to buy strawberries at based upon how many strawberries were brought to market, that's the price in the market, right? And they're going to take that price. It's like if you were a fisherman and you were catching tuna, and you bring your tuna to a restaurant to go sell it, and there's hundreds of thousands of other tuna, fishermen, and they all have tuna as well, and they're all trying to sell to the same restaurant. You're not going to tell the restaurant the price, they're going to tell you the price that they're going to buy your tuna for, and if you don't want it, then you don't have to sell it, obviously, but they're going to come up with a price. So firms are price takers. You guys can never forget that. Firms are price takers, all right? They take the price given in the market. A seller has absolutely no control over price if we're talking about perfect competition, okay? So that's it for perfect competition, all right? And that's what we're going to start learning about tomorrow. The next one is monopoly, all right? So what is a monopoly? A monopoly is obviously the opposite end of the spectrum. There's absolutely no competition being had. One firm dominates the market, and they're not competing against anybody, right? That would be a monopoly. That's what we're going to learn secondly after perfect competition. So obviously, what is a monopoly? Or what are some examples? I hope I didn't go too fast on your organizer. It's like an electrical company, right? Like Consumers Energy is who I buy my electricity from. There's no other person I can buy my electricity from. Like there is none. Like if I want electricity, the firm that I go through is Consumers Energy, and that's going to be very, very typical in regards to any sort of utility. These monopolies are called natural monopolies, and we're going to talk about why the government allows some firms to be a monopoly and not other firms, right? But a natural monopoly is one that is good, that there is only one producer, but the government's going to heavily regulate it, right? Consumers Energy can't charge me $1,000 for electricity every month, right? They can't. The government regulates that since they are a monopoly. But De Beers, right? So De Beers, De Beers Diamonds they owned 90% of the diamond market. They owned all the diamond mines in like Africa and Russia and things like that. So they were pretty much a monopoly. But we've had other monopolies, right? We've had Carnegie Steel, we had Rockefeller Oil. There's actually I think Google is in some litigation right now for having too much market share, right? The government is deeming Google, their search engine that they have a monopoly, right? So we have antitrust laws, obviously, in this country, and if you get too big, right, we want competition, right? You can't dominate the market. We want, right, like capitalism doesn't work if there's monopolies. That's the idea. So government steps in, which is the opposite of capitalism, to ensure capitalism can exist. It's pretty crazy. Yeah. DOJ filed an antitrust lawsuit. It's pretty crazy. Nina's here, right? You didn't miss too much. That's not bad. But yeah, so that's what a monopoly is. A monopoly is just one firm, and the firm dominates the market. So maybe Amazon one day will I mean, Amazon pretty much to me, so monopoly doesn't have to mean like there's only one firm. It means like one firm dominates the market, right? I would say like Amazon is pretty close to being that firm that just dominates the market share for like retail goods, right? Walmart and whatnot competes with them, but that's the idea of a monopoly. So how does a monopoly exist? Well, they have to be the producer of some sort of unique product that has no close substitutes at all, right? So, like De Beers Diamonds, right? There was no other producers of diamonds, really. So, like, if you wanted a diamond ring that was real, right, there's no other person you can really go to. If you wanted steel back in the day, you had to buy Carnegie Steel. There was no one else that really produced steel. That's the idea. They have some sort of unique product that no one else has. So, therefore, there's no competition. And they're going to have high barriers of entry, right? Because their intellectual property generally is protected, right? They have some sort of patent or copyright, some sort of protection over their invention. So other firms can't steal and replicate and produce the same product that they have. So obviously patents and copyrights expire at some point or another, but at least in the short run, or actually in the long run, monopolies generally have high barriers of entry, protecting their inventions, right? If you guys are gonna have to answer questions where it says the patent expires, right? There's a monopoly and the patent expires. What's gonna happen? Well, the barriers of entry is gone, so they're gonna become more and more competitive because other firms are gonna enter, replicate their product, and compete, thus lowering the price. More competition, not one firm producing is the idea. And then monopolies are price makers. Monopolies are totally price makers. They come up with the price, and if you want the good, you got to pay the price. Now, there's still a demand curve. So I think on your sheet it says, will monopolies advertise? Monopolies still will advertise. Even though they're not competing against anybody, there's still a demand curve, right? In order to get you to want to buy diamonds, right, even though there's no one else to buy diamonds from, they got to convince you that buying a diamond is the only way to get married, right? On this side, I don't have diamonds, obviously, but that's the idea. De Beers was really good at that. It was like one of the greatest marketing schemes of all time. But monopolies are price makers. So in class, the simulation that we do during this is I give you guys candy, and the ones who are in perfect competition, there's like 25 students that all have the same exact good, and they all try to charge me a price on the whiteboard, and we notice that they basically charge the lowest price, right? Because I only want to buy one. There's so many producers of it. I know all the products are the same. I spend like $1 for like Smarties, right? And then there's someone that usually is a monopolist that has like a candy bar, and no one else has a candy bar. So if I'm like, hey, I want to buy your candy bar, they write, the highest price that I'm able to spend, right, that I'm still willing and able to buy it for, and they charge me that price. Monopolies are complete price makers. Perfect competition, they're completely price takers. And I hope that makes a lot of sense, even though we can't do the fun simulation. All right. We'll talk about this when we get to monopolies. All right. So the next market structure is called oligopolies. Oligopolies. So an oligopoly, this again is imperfect competition, right? It's not perfectly competitive. There's only going to be a couple producers, and that's the biggest characteristic, right? Generally less than 10, but I would say sometimes it can be more than 10, right? Like I would say the airline industry is an oligopoly. Is there more than 10 airlines? Yes. But is there more than 10 airlines that dominate? Probably not, right? There's like Delta, American Airlines, United Airlines, there's not that much, Southwest, right? There's not that many. So an oligopoly is more so defined by the number of producers, and there's going to be a very few amount of producers. So, the cell phone industry, right? You got like Android and Apple, right? Service providers, AT&T, Verizon. There's just not a whole lot of competition. Automobiles, there's like Ford, there's Chevy, there's Toyota. There's not a whole lot of competition. So these firms are gonna act like oligopolies. And oligopolies, it doesn't really matter with the product, right? The product can be exactly identical. It can be somewhat different. It's all about how many firms are operating in this market structure. So we're going to notice that oligopolies have very, very high barriers of entry, generally due to economies of scale. Again, the airline industry. Barriers of entry is like that. Monopolies will advertise. Yep, monopolies will advertise because they still got to get you to want to buy the good. They're trying to increase demand, so therefore they can charge a higher price. What was I saying? So barriers of entry is like this. Like if you wanted to open up a business and compete with the existing producers in this market structure, and generally for oligopolies the answer is no, right? How hard would it be if you wanted to create your own airline right now, right? How hard would it be to open up an airline and compete against the existing firms, Delta, United Airlines, you name it, right? Insanely difficult. Why? Because high startup cost, right? High economies of scale. We need a lot of total cost. We need a lot of money to buy all those resources, right? Contracts with airports, a huge fleet, right, of planes. We got to hire a bunch of pilots, which pilots I would imagine are pretty scarce. It takes enormous startup total costs to be able to produce at a low average total cost. So, producing cars and producing planes and things like that. Cell phone service, right? You need huge towers everywhere. Generally, that's how oligopolies exist, is there's not a lot of firms that can even compete because it requires so much cost to even compete. So that's how oligopolies generally exist. So oligopolies, in general, are going to have complete control over price, just like a monopoly, because we're going to learn that oligopolies use game theory. I don't know if any of you guys are in psychology right now, but game theory is basically your strategy is determined by other people's strategy, and the best strategy for oligopolies is working together, right? Adam Smith once said that what's best for the market is everyone, acting in their own self-interest, every business acting in their own self-interest, and doing what's best for them, right? In an oligopoly, however, what's best for them is actually what's best for the group, right? Which is pretty crazy. It's called Nash equilibrium. It's called game theory, and we're going to learn it in class. But oligopolies generally collude. They generally work together, right? Think about, an intersection. There's two different gas stations. Generally, the two different gas stations it's going to be in their best interest to charge the same price, because if they start undercutting one another, right? One firm's going to go lower, the next firm's going to go lower to get all the demand, and they're going to go lower. They're going to hurt each other, and they're going to hurt themselves if they don't work together. If they work together, they're both going to be benefited, which is really, really crazy. I love teaching about oligopolies. Generally, students love learning about oligopolies because it's very, very interesting. And for oligopolies, we will not learn about a graph. It's all about matrices and game theory, which is really, really fun. And hopefully, well, I don't know, but hopefully we're in school, because there's a lot of fun games that we play with oligopolies, so we'll see. But it's all about mutual interdependence is the idea of the oligopolies. An oligopoly will make a decision based on the information they have about the other firm. Will this firm advertise? If that firm advertises, then I'm going to have to advertise. If that firm doesn't advertise, then I'm not going to advertise, right? This is the idea. So for advertising for oligopolies, say dependent upon the other firm, right? Dependent upon the other firm. So Spirit Airlines not a team player because they always charge low prices. Spirit Airlines is like the Walmart of retail, right? They're the Walmart of the airline industry. Very, very cheap, right? They're very, very different than everyone else, for sure. There's another firm that's like that as well. But for oligopolies, for advertising, right before someone asks it, just put, it depends on the other firms. It depends. Game theory, right? Put game theory. All right. The last one is monopolistic competition, which we're going to learn is a blend between monopoly and perfect competition. Basically, so see how there's the word competition in it? That means it's going to be very, very competitive. Not hundreds of thousands of producers, but hundreds of producers, right? There's still going to be, it's going to be very competitive. There's going to be a lot of other producers that they're competing against. But what makes monopolistic competition different from perfect competition is that the product is not identical. The product is different. There's some sort of variation. They're differentiated. They're not identical. They're different, right? There's variety. So think about like clothing, right? Are all jean producers the same? No, right? Because jeans are different, right? Some jean producers produce high quality jeans. Some jean producers produce low quality jeans. But there's a lot of jean producers out there. Fast food, right, is monopolistic, sort of, right? Even though like a few firms dominate, but you know, McDonald's is different than Wendy's, and Wendy's is different than Burger King, and Burger King is different than Arby's, and Arby's is different than Taco Bell, etc. Right? They're all fast food. They're all pretty much the same. They're all in the same market structure for sure. But the good that they sell is somewhat different. And since the good is somewhat different, they have some control over price. Not complete control over price, because again, they're competing against hundreds of other people, hundreds of other firms rather. So it's going to be competitive. They don't have a lot of say in price, but they have some control, right? If I'm Levi and I know that my jeans are better than, I don't know, Walmart jeans, right? I can charge a higher price for my jeans than Walmart can, because I have some control over price, right? I know that people are going to be willing to pay more because my jeans are different. So monopolistically competitive firms are going to advertise more than any other firm, right? Put advertise the most on that last column, all right? They're going to use a lot of non-price competition. They're going to try to do things to get you to buy their product opposed to the competitors in other ways other than changing the price, right? Most of the commercials that you guys see on TV, even though like most of us don't even watch TV any longer, are going to be monopolistic competition, right? Okay, horrible example, and this is on YouTube, right, forever, but like beer commercials, right? Like most commercials, like if you sit down and watch TV, you're going to see a lot of beer commercials, right? And the reason you see a lot of beer commercials is the good is so similar. It is so similar, right? But if they advertise and convince you that their good is different than the competitor, right? They can charge more than the competitor, right? Non-price advertising, right? You know, is Bud Light really different than Coors Light? No. Not speaking from experience, but no. All right. Is Coca-Cola different than Pepsi? Probably a better example, right? For school. It actually kind of is, though. That's the problem, right? Coca-Cola is way better than Pepsi, right? Who's Team Coca-Cola out there? It is different. But whatever, right? You guys get the point, right? So the monopolistic competition is there's a bunch of other competitors, right? But the good that you produce is somewhat different. And since it's somewhat different, you know, you can charge different prices than your competitors. Not everyone's going to charge the same price in this market structure. And they're going to spend a lot of money on advertising to convince you that their product is way better than everyone else's. There's no way they taste the same. There's no way. I know that for sure. Taha, you can't convince me. There's no way. Team Pepsi, really? I never met like a Pepsi person before. I thought everyone like knew Coca-Cola was better, but they drink Pepsi because like some businesses only have Pepsi, right? Like people, there's a reason McDonald's is Coca-Cola, right? And who's Pepsi? Isn't even Taco Bell Coca-Cola, right? Because they have Mountain Dew. Mountain Dew's Coca-Cola, right? Who's Team Pepsi? Probably like Burger King, right? Like who goes to Burger King, sort of thing. Pepsi people are the elite. I don't know. I'm pretty sure Coke was first, so Pepsi just copied off of them, right? After the barriers of entry got removed. People, they're not that different. I mean, like if it's a hot day, if someone gives me a glass of ice with Coca-Cola or Pepsi in it, I'm taking it. I'm taking it. Pepsi is Taco Bell, really? Wait, so Mountain Dew's Pepsi? Oh, I didn't know that. Well, Pepsi, the companies are pretty cool because I do like Mountain Dew. That's pretty sweet. That's pretty sweet. All right, people. So that's that. That's it for that. All right. So now let's transition to something completely different, but sort of not really. But we have to do this first before we go to tomorrow. So at some point we're going to have to combine lessons because this lesson's really small, yet is very, very important. Okay. No way Baja Blast will ever leave Taco Bell. That's the only reason I go there. Say your line. I finally got you guys talking in the chat. All I had to talk about was a controversial issue, Pepsi versus Coke. Wow. All right, people. Oh, seizures. Okay, anyway. So what we need to talk about is profit, all right? How do we calculate profit? Mr. Moore, I saw it on TikTok. That's funny. Mr. Gonn's gone like next month. No way. You guys can't be talking about that because now you guys are going to be distracted. All right, anyway. We need to learn how to calculate profit, all right? In general, by now you guys should know how to calculate profit, like just like the general meaning of profit. It is revenue minus costs, right? You guys already know how to calculate revenue. I know you guys know how to calculate revenue. It's just price times quantity. You guys remember the revenue box? We calculated elasticity, right? It was price times quantity that would make up the box. How much do you produce, or how much do you sell, right? And how much do you sell each unit for would equal your total revenue, all right? That's revenue. Profit is how much money do you bring in, your revenue, price times quantity, minus how much does it cost you to produce it, right? So if I make this cool little mug here, right, and I sell it for $10, that's my total revenue, that's how much money I'm going to receive, and maybe it costs me $8 to make it, so therefore my profit would be $2, 10 minus 8, okay? All right, people, stop talking about it. There's bigger issues in life right now, all right, than that. All right, so what we need to talk about is two different ways to calculate profit, right? Accountants calculate profit differently than economists. Now, it doesn't mean accountants are bad people, even though if Mr. Moore sees an accountant, you know I'm scrapping, you know I'm throwing down, right? I don't like accountants. They're not bad people, but I'm an economist, all right? But accountants calculate profit in a different way, right? Accountants are numbers, right? Are green or red, right? Money coming in, money coming out, right? Is the general idea. So accountants only look at explicit costs when they're calculating profit, okay? So what is an explicit cost? I've used that word a lot, and I'm using it more and more in macro in the last few years, right? Just to get you guys ready for this. But explicit cost is money, right? Like literally out of pocket, how much does it cost you to produce the mug, right? If it costs me $8 to produce the mug, that is my explicit cost. That's how it was the cost for the resources, the price for the resources, okay? So if you're running a business, an example of explicit costs would be rent, wages, materials, electricity bills, you name it, right? The cost of production is generally your explicit cost. So an accountant calculates profit just like this. All right? How much money did you bring in? $10. How much did it cost you to produce it? $8. Your accounting profit's $2. Good job. You're making $2 per unit. Keep it up. You're making money. Stay in business, right? That would be what the accountant would probably say, right? You're making profit. Good job. You're good. You're fine. Good. But an economist is a little bit different, right? Economist is kind of next level, I would say. You guys remember like the first day of economics, right? We're like, what is economics? You guys are like, money, stocks, bonds, right? And we're all like, no. Economics is all about decision making. It's all about the study of choices. So when we calculate economic profit, that we want that number to give us a choice, like tell us, are we doing the right choice or are we doing the wrong choice? This number means more than are you in the green or are you in the red, right? So economists use explicit cost and implicit cost, and implicit cost is opportunity cost. All right, it's opportunity cost. What could you otherwise be doing? What, Mr. Moore? What could you otherwise be doing than producing this mug, right? What else are you good at? I'm good at producing peppers. I'm really good at producing peppers, right? So, right, we need to take that into account to see, should you keep producing the mug or should you stop producing the mug, right? We need to be aware of your opportunity cost, your implicit cost. So examples of implicit cost are foregone wages, right, producing peppers, or foregone rent and time and other things that we generally can't measure, right? With just, in terms of dollars. So economic profit is equal to total revenue minus economic cost, which is explicit plus implicit cost, right? And economists are still going to be aware of the explicit cost of production, right? But also, what could you otherwise be doing right now instead, right? Your opportunity costs. So we got to add explicit plus implicit. I got to move out of the way so you guys can see the notes. Explicit plus implicit. You guys got it? All right. Good to go. Good to go. Okay, so let's do a little check on learning here. So it says, for now on, all costs we discuss will be economic cost. Oh gosh, I'm blurry. No. I need to find the button that like automatically like does it. Now I'm like insanely blurry. All right, anyway, moving on. All right. So, assume the following, right? So annoying. David left his job as a lawyer, and as a lawyer, he was earning $8,000 a month. All right? So as a lawyer, he was earning $8,000 a month. That's how much he would make as a lawyer. And he left that job to go work at an ice cream shop. Okay? Hold on, let me try this, people, real quick, because it's like super annoying that like I look like that. Boom. All right, all the lights are off. And the lights are back on. All right. Focus. Okay. So now he's working at an ice cream shop. Did it work? It'll come back, whatever. And now working at an ice cream shop, right? He produces and sells 5,000 sundaes, each selling for $2. He sells 8,000 cones, each selling at $1. Right? That's what he's producing and how much he's selling each good for. He makes sundaes and ice cream cones. Let's look at some of his explicit costs. His rent is $1,000 a month, and he has other expenses. Right? He's got to pay for his workers. He's got to pay for the ice cream, the cones, etc., and all that equates to $9,000 a month. Then also, right, he decided to take a vacation last month. That was $5,000. So I want you guys to answer those 4 questions. Okay? And while you guys answer those 4 questions, I'm going to try to figure this out here. Pretty sure there's like a button on here. There's no button on here. Whoa. All right, you guys working through that? I'll give you guys a few more minutes here. Actually, you know what we should do? Do you guys want to just do this together in Google Meet? You guys want to do that? Because by the time you guys work on this and I go over it, it's going to be like 2 o'clock. All right, so hey, let's do this. Well, people, the camera's finally back. All right, we're going to do this, right? We're going to go hop into Google Meet, all right, real quick, okay? All right, and if you ever wanted to watch this video again, actually, no, skip that guy. All right, people, we're going to Google Meet. I'll see you guys in a bit.